Hey, it's Alex from BoardGameCo, and today we have another exhausting Monday roundup. I did remember to bring my water with me this time because, well, I'm going to need it at some point. I'm expecting 35 to 40 minutes again as we go into everything from a variety of Kickstarters, a bit of a deep dive into Fantastic Factories, and starting off, we're going to talk about crowdfunding on Awakened Realms on Gamefound's new site, which is basically, if you missed it, check it out. I have a full interview with Marcin from Awakened Realms talking about, I put it up last week, talking about their new basically Kickstarter competitor. They are taking Gamefound, which is previously just for managing pledges after the fact, and they're taking into a full Kickstarter competitor where basically you can launch your game on Gamefound, which is, I walked in a skeptic, and by the time I looked through everything, I was very much converted. I'm actually not looking forward to, what do I call this segment once this becomes popular? Do I still call it Kickstarter Roundup, Crowdforming Roundup? Do I have to change my little icons in the corner where I have that little K? Honestly, now that I think about it, this is kind of irritating in a completely side way, but I'm still gung-ho, all for enthusiastic. Check out that interview, and we'll go from there into the actual game. So starting off with what we have canceled, we have Plunderous was unfortunately canceled. This is a surprise. I was very surprised with this one. I thought it would do significantly better. And to be clear, it probably would have funded based on the traction it had. It probably would have funded by the end of the campaign, but it would have funded with kind of just inching over that finish line as opposed to, yay, $300,000 launched or whatever. So this is one that it was creeping there, decided to, regather the troops, and they will eventually be relaunching, possibly a bit more advertising. It's fascinating to me because I saw Facebook ads for this all over the place. On a regular basis, I didn't see anything about it, but I saw ads for Plunderous all over the place, and it seems that most people didn't. This was very much not on people's radar, and a lot of people just didn't see this coming at all. So I think it does help, but this goes into something we've talked about before in terms of cancellations, which is, at the end of the day, to a degree, a cancellation can be good for a campaign because you get that initial buzz, and then you can come back a month or two later, maybe 6 months later. Different campaigns handle cancellations different ways, and time will tell on Plunderous. From there, we have TerReign, Realm of Warriors. This was canceled. I don't know much about this game, and I didn't have time to look into it because, didn't have time meaning it was canceled before I even had a chance to look into it. But TerReign launched, and then within 4 days canceled, unfortunately. They just didn't have that initial traction. This is something I actually talk about with Marcin in my interview with him, Marcin from Awakened Realms and Gamefound, about how over time Kickstarter has evolved from, hey, here's this campaign that's been up for 30 days, and let's see how many people we can gather, to it's all about getting people in the door day one. It's all about setting up your initial email list, setting up your initial Facebook page, setting up the whole notify me on launch. You want it to be that by the time you even launch your campaign, you should have people are fighting to be like, I got pledge 1, I got backer 1, I'm backer 10, look how exciting it is. There's a rush to get in the door and get in early because you have people lining up for the game. And when you don't have that, sadly, that is a death knell to Kickstarter campaigns nowadays. If you don't have that day one initiative, it means people aren't paying attention, and it's unlikely that you will magically achieve the funding goals you need throughout the 14 days, 3 weeks, whatever it is that a campaign goes. Getting that initial traction is hugely important, and capitalizing from there is from you. So up to you. So TerReign is basically there again. They're coming back. This is not a goodbye forever. This is a goodbye for now. Next up, we have Ambush Epic, and this is going to be the sequence of Kickstarters that aren't yet funding, and it does look like this will fund, but nonetheless, we'll cover this over here. Basically, I talk about a few Kickstarters, less about the value proposition and more just generic notes about the campaigns, just to bring a general awareness to those campaigns. And starting off, we have Ambush Epic. I don't know much about this game. I will say I am simultaneously interested and not interested. And the not interested part comes from the fact that they do use the word semi-cooperative, which, despite some games that have managed to do well despite that, for the most part, I find the concept of semi-cooperative a killer to games. Give me cooperative all the way, give me competitive all the way. Don't give me this semi-garbage. It doesn't tend to work well for the most part for me. So I am not interested because of that, but the flip side is the art looks incredible. I don't know anything about the game, to be very clear. I know nothing about it, but it's a dungeon crawler to a degree with amazing art. Look at these characters, look at these tokens, look at these dice. They're dice, they're not anything special. But yeah, the semi-co-op thing is a bit of a turnoff, but the art does look engaging. As we hit that funding goal, I will look into it more and decide if it's a game for me, now, later, all that stuff. Next up from there, we have King of the West. King of the West is another one that's a little bit like, mixed bag for me. It's not yet funding. Again, this does look like it will fund. It is on track. $2,000 with 24 days to go. Does seem like it will be able to cross that finish line. This is going with that whole button shy wallet concept, which it can be a good thing, but the flip side is button shy has a lot of games that aren't that well rated either. This one is going with the rock, paper, scissors dynamic. I don't know the full gameplay, but it is hedging on that to a degree. It looks like it could be very accessible on the one hand, but I don't know the actual gameplay, how it plays out, and my own personal interest levels yet. That being said, when a game does fit into a little pack that size and manages to do a good job to boot, well, color me interested from there. Next up, we have Cardboard. Cardboard is a tough one. This one, it might have a little harder time funding. Generally, a good traction, a good indicator to a degree, is if a game hits 50% in the first 2 days, it will usually manage to creep along, hit that end goal, and make it over the finish line. But at a third of the way in, it's going to be a little harder to build up enough traction. You have to basically triple your amount of backers over the rest of the campaign, and the lack of hype, the lack of buzz, the lack of excited people definitely hurts that from actually happening. So Cardboard is and as far as the gameplay, this is an interesting one. It's like a kind of a dueling game, but at the same time, it's really more of building up your stories, your adventures, your compositions, your musical compositions and whatnot. It seems to be an interesting battler system that is a break from the usual norm, but again, that's just a cursory overview, and we'll see how it plays out over time. Next up, we go into the update section. This is where I talk about just campaigns that I've already talked about either in dedicated videos or in this roundup, and I just go over any additional things worth covering before the campaign ends. Now, by the time you watch this, there'll be basically 1 day left. They just basically added more stretch goals. What we have over here, the overall game, nothing really significantly changed. The last major update was the expansion. They have given some more information about the expansion, but past that, they have some sculpts they've released. We have these plastic dogs over here. We have the plastic food, the new characters, which we already saw, I believe. We have some more sculpts. Here we go. Some more art on different cards. More sculpts, not necessarily fully 3D. And some more art. They have a little plastic SOS helicopter, which is a little sad because I actually really don't like the sculpt in this. It looks very, very basic, very underwhelming. Some more characters, a poster of the game. Just basically more stuff to the game that you're already interested in. And that's basically it, just more stuff. Overall, where I ended off last time is I said that this is one that I believe will hold its value to a degree, but also it's going to be a bit of a fight to get there. It's not like, it's a decent back without being an amazing back, and that's purely from the stance of just people will want all these collectibles. If you're interested in for yourself and you're on the fence, you'll be able to pick this up far cheaper without all the bling and the extras. Granted, I like the bling and the extras, but that's basically where I wound up on the thing. Drinking on camera. That's new for me. Not totally new. I've done it before with coffee here and there. In any case, it just feels wrong. It feels like it works in a live video, but in a pre-recorded video, maybe I should just be editing. I don't really know. But anyways, from there, Hogs of War, the miniature game. This is one that I was really keeping an eye on. I was hoping that this one would make its way across the finish line. I was hoping, it is funded, to be clear. I was hoping that this one would continue to grow to the point that I saw enough value to push me over the edge and to back it. In the end of the day, while they have a bunch of stretch goals unlocked, they don't have enough that I feel confident that this is one that will hold its value if I don't like it. Meaning, I think this is one that I probably would have to sell at a bit of a loss. Someone else commented on my last video when I talked about it, and I agree with the comment, that this is basically Rivet Wars. It's fitting into that same genre of Rivet Wars, and Rivet Wars is one that definitely did not hold its value. I agree. For me, I'm more intrigued by this because of the polyomino aspect of building your base, but at the end of the day, that general concern that it won't hold its value just because of the content per price is what's holding me off from backing this. I could be wrong. In general, when I say something won't hold its value, I always hope I'm wrong. I wish all the best for the creators, for the backers. This whole video series is not about me being right, just about more of the thought process I do when I'm hedging my bets. And I've talked about this in the past where there have been games sometimes where I looked at it and realized that the original campaign or whatnot, I would not have thought it would hold its value, and I'm wrong. It definitely does happen that I'm wrong. I try to be conservative. Sometimes I'm too conservative, and sometimes I'm not conservative enough, which is why I always pay attention to the comments, because you'll always find other people's opinions, including people who do this a lot as well and also have experience. This is basically just me going through a neurotic 30 seconds where I tell you about how sometimes I am definitely wrong. From there, we have the 7th Citadel. So this is one we've covered a lot. This is going to be the last update we have about it before the campaign actually launches. But the 7th Citadel is an interesting one. So I will say, when this first launched, I saw predictions anywhere from, I don't know what I saw. I saw predictions anywhere from 15 million raised or something like that. I saw high numbers. I remember my first prediction that I made was actually on a Paul Grogan live stream, I think it was. I think it was there. It was on a live stream, someone's live stream. And I basically said that I think it's going to hit 4 million. And I thought I was being a little too conservative. I just basically mathed out the number of backers times the pledge levels plus counting for optional buys, and it does look like it's even struggling to hit that. I think we'll probably see a close at about 3.5 at this point, but that's interesting because I would have thought it would be higher. I know there's been a lot of disappointment about the campaign to a certain degree in terms of, I've seen a lot of comments about how there's too many optional buys. They're just phoning it in. They're not managing the campaign well. It's not the stellar, incredible, whatever. And I guess I'm surprised because I don't know what people expected. I'm not entirely sure what people expected from this campaign. To me, this was always going to be 7th Continent, just, plus 7th Continent, but better. I wasn't expecting anything amazing. I mean, the optional buys and the stretch goals and all the stuff that they've shown so far has been perfectly in line with what I expect. Is it phoning it in to repeat a formula that has been done in the past? I don't know. I don't really know what the people's expectations were. For me, I'm perfectly fine with it. I put out a review on this. My basic opinion of 7th Citadel comes down to the fact that I think it is a better version of 7th Continent, and I walked in skeptical, by the way. I walked in thinking it would be a worse version of 7th Continent, but at the end of the day, I do think it's a better version of 7th Continent. I think that there are some things, particularly the cascading effects, the combat where you go through rounds of combat again and again feels a bit fiddly, but overall, the story is significantly more involved, and overall, significantly better, not more involved, it's significantly better, the story, I'm much more drawn in, and overall I think it's an improvement. As far as the optional buys, they have released a lot of optional buys in the last few days. This is one of those things where you never really know how much of that was planned versus how much of that is an adjustment because the campaign is not doing as well. That being said, given the nature of the stretch goals and the nature of the optional buys, it doesn't look like it's a pivot. It genuinely looks like these were always going to be optional buys and those were always going to be stretch goals. And again, ending at 3.5 million, if it gets there, is not doing poorly by any means. It's just, I think people had a lot of expectations for the follow-up to 7th Citadel, 7th Continent. And so far, the new optional buys we have is we have the Alembic Valengard, these 3 machines that split up and wander the land. We have Knowledge is Power. There's kind of a more narrative aspect to the campaign where you'll be flipping cards almost as if it's a book. We had one more, I thought. Where's the last one? Oh, and we have Threat, the Final Throne. So this is the Final Throne, which is a whole new threat, and basically those are the optional buys. I do not know if there's going to be more or not. We still have 5 days, or 2 days by the time you're watching this video, but basically 7th Citadel is an interesting one. For those who are upset about optional buys, for those who feel that their initial pledge is being dragged out, I recommend waiting to retail. Don't get me wrong, I firmly hold by what I said last time. This game will hold its value. It's not a question at all. Whatever you get, you'll be able to resell what you paid for it or more, if not more. But at the same time, if you're keeping it for your own personal collection, most people are not getting through that much content that they need any of these things. Waiting for retail, getting that retail edition will give you more than enough content. It is unlikely you will ever fully explore these giant worlds. And keep in mind, I'm not talking to you, the person who's going to comment saying, I've gone through the whole thing. I'm talking to the average person. And when I talked about this in one of my videos with top 10 Kickstarters you shouldn't have backed, and I said, and you didn't finish Gloomhaven, I wasn't talking to the 17 people who commented that they did. I was talking to the other 9,500 who didn't. Most people do not finish these worlds. I remember watching a video with Tom Vassell in a panel was announcing when Frosthaven was announced, and he said, raise your hand if you didn't finish Gloomhaven, and almost everyone's hand went up. Raise your hand if you did finish Gloomhaven, and there's like a handful. Of course there's a handful. There are always going to be a handful, but the vast majority are sadly like me, who get these games, play these games, love these games, but have too many other games that are fighting for our time and attention. Machina Arcana. Machina Arcana, this is also the last update. We're getting a lot of... Basically, there are a whole bunch of Kickstarters dropped in 1 week. Machina Arcana, 7th Citadel, Planet Apocalypse, which is over by now, and Dinosaur World. And all those have been getting frequent updates in these videos, dragging out the time. But again, timestamps down below for anyone who wants to skip them. Machina Arcana, this is basically just the last update. This is your last opportunity to get it. There's basically 2 days to go by the time you watch this video. And this one, I mean, there's no real major update here, just more stretch goals, more stuff unlocked. I will note that the creator did respond to my last plea for map tiles, pointing out correctly, which I should have noted, that technically this does have new map tiles, not in the sense of full-blown map tiles, but the To Eternity expansion does introduce this concept, let me see if I can find it here, introduces this concept of map tiles that kind of click on to the end. There are almost these little rooms you can explore, and I really really should try to find it here, but I don't see it. Basically, these little miniature map tiles that add on to the board, so you do get some version of something. That being said, I'm still eagerly awaiting the newest expansion whenever it does come out, and for the record, they've said that this is probably the last iteration of the current edition of the game. But in the future, there will potentially still be future content for this game, and in such case, I will eagerly look for the giant map pack tile because I will be all in on that. Which brings us to Dinosaur World, which is another one. No major updates. 5 days left, or 3 to 4 days left by the time you're watching this, and we will have just more stuff. I mean, the stretch goals they've unlocked, it's been more of the same. Nothing particularly groundbreaking. They do have a new expansion, which we'll get to shortly, since the last week's update. But they have, they have these tiles over here. They have chock full of tons of dino meeples. Some of them for different tiers, because one of the things they added since the last video is a aquatic expansion. If I can find that here, the aquatic expansion is somewhere. I'm going past it. I don't know where it is. It's definitely, here we go. The water pack. So we have the water pack, which basically gives you this, if I recall correctly, gives you this like this starting bonuses situation. So it'll change up the game a little bit, just like the other expansion. Same thing as last time. This one is as well. It's a Kickstarter exclusive to a degree, so it is one that this is likely your best opportunity to get your hands on it, which makes Dinosaur Island in general, everything the same from when I last said it. This is one that will hold its value overall, just like the original did. The expansions are a little overpriced for the content you're getting, but will hold their value because of the fact that they're Kickstarter exclusive. This is the best way to get your hands on them. So if you're interested in Dino World, if you like Dinosaur Island, if this is pulling you in, by all means check this out and look into it. For the roll and write, they're just the stuff that the extras that were there, I don't think will hold their value, like a bag and a few erasers. I don't think people care enough about that, so that's better off getting in retail. But once you're anyways just paying $25 in terms of the bundle pack, there it might be worth it, if only just to get it earlier on. And that's basically Dinosaur World. Next up, we have Dungeon Universalis, and now we go into non-updates. Technically, Dungeon Universalis is an update because I just put a video out yesterday, but I like to cover everything at least once in this roundup before I call it an update. And for those who don't watch the dedicated videos and only watch the roundups, which is nice to have you here, nice to see you every single Monday. And Dungeon Universalis. Dungeon Universalis is one that I put out a video yesterday. I think it went up yesterday. Yesterday on this one. Overall, what it really comes down to, this game is the RPG of dungeon crawling. It is a game that is, the way I put it, I think in the last video, it's hard to remember what I recorded, but basically it's, if you combined RPGs and board games, you basically got two kids out of it. You got Gloomhaven, which is the board game side of that pairing, and then you have Dungeon Universalis, which is more the RPG side of that pairing. Both have elements of the other, but Dungeon Universalis is more of an RPG. It's more open world. It's more just open. Like, what you can do with it is incredible in the sense that you can mimic other scenarios from other games. You can sit there and say, I want to play the first adventure in Gloomhaven, but in Dungeon Universalis. So it really is completely wide open in what you can do with it. It's almost the Lego set of dungeon crawlers. Just build whatever you want. There are more limited modes in terms of if you don't want to go that open, so there is more of a formulaic stuff as well, but it has both options on the table. Overall, lots of stuff here. You can watch the full video. I also did an interview with Thomas C, a collaborator on the project, who has a ton of dungeon crawlers in his collection. So when he has 100 plus dungeon crawlers and he rates Dungeon Universalis number 4, I believe, that is saying something, if nothing else. As far as the should you back it, should you not, overall I think this will hold its value. The initial edition did fairly well. The amount of people who are actually selling it is incredibly minimal. This is one that people who bought into the game, love the game, or haven't had an opportunity to play it and decide yet. But overall, this is one that has held its value. The second edition is likely to hold its value in the same way. But as usual with second editions, it's a little bit less of a guarantee because you never know how many people are swept up in the hype from the first one. But overall, it's a pretty safe back. You'll either get your money back entirely, make a profit, or maybe lose a little bit, but nothing in serious. Next up, we have Dungeon Fighter, which should really be in the update category. You see, this is what happens when I order these things. This should be in the update category, so it is what it is. Basically, Dungeon Fighter, the reason I'm talking about this today is because they announced a update giant box, the new pledge level that contains a giant all-in add-on box. This is basically going to cost you roughly an extra $40, but it gives you the box, gives you the bags, gives you the metal tokens. It's a pledge level in which you're saving €28, $33 roughly, so all things considered, the amount you get here is pretty decent, especially if you are going all in. In terms of the overall, should you back it, or how does it affect things, this is more of the Kickstarter exclusive line of stuff. I mean, this is going to be more things that you can't easily get. So this is probably, if you want everything, like I recommended last time, the best option is getting, well, everything, and everything includes this whole thing as well. If you are not in a rush to spend, $180 on a dexterity-based, $180 on a dexterity-based dungeon thingy, then wait till retail and just get one of them. But that's overall the update on Dungeon Crawler. And now we officially get to the new things. Okay, now it's officially new. Herbaceous Pocket Edition. I put up a review of this on Saturday along with like 5 other videos. My Saturday, if you don't know yet, is my official review day. I have pivoted to the way I handle reviews. Reviews all go up on Saturday, whether I have 1 review or 15 reviews. That way, those who want my content and don't want my reviews, which my reviews tend to be less popular in the format, compared to other stuff at least. So that way, you just know Saturday you can just pick whatever you want, watch what you want, watch what you don't. The rest of the week is all the usual content. In any case, back to Herbaceous. Herbaceous is, I put out a review of the regular edition, and overall, I really liked this game. I thought it was a very solid game, very much reminded me of Colorado. I know I prefer Colorado. I think Colorado is the better game, but for me, but Herbaceous was a very solid game as well, and Herbaceous I liked far more at 2-player, versus Colorado I like far more at 3 or 4 players, but it very much had that aspect. It reminded me of a lot of Colorado. My biggest complaint about it was the fact that I felt it was too much of a box for the game it delivered. It was giving me a game like No Thanks, like Colorado, like games in that genre, but it was in a box 5 times the size. And sure enough, they heard and responded, and they now have Herbaceous Pocket, which is a 5th the size, which is appropriate. I am much happier with this significantly smaller pack, giving you all the goodness of the experience, but without the giant box, and coming in at roughly $15 for, including shipping if you're in the US, to get this game, which is right in line with Colorado, by the way. Colorado is on Amazon, $15. I didn't see it anywhere else at the moment, but so yeah, it's in line with price. It's in line with that price in terms of what you get. As far as the should you back it, should you not, so I couldn't find it over here at all. I could not find it on this page, but I did watch a video with Edo, who said, Edo. I did watch a video with Edo where he basically said, where is his video? I don't know what it is. He had a video on his channel talking about what they're doing, and I believe he said this is not going to retail. So, assuming it's not going to retail, this is going to be your best price to get it. It's also going to come with some extras. It comes with the Flavor Pack mini expansion, free shipping. So if it's not going to retail, this is probably your best bet to get Herbaceous Pocket, which makes it a decent price considering the game genre it's in terms of matching it up to Colorado, and probably your best opportunity to get it because it won't be going to retail. Past that, yeah, I like the game. Edo, I will say, I really wish you would get the beard back. I'm a big fan of beards, and that's all I can say. From there, we go to Cactus Town. Cactus Town is another one that I've been pushing off covering. I find myself pushing more and more things off because these videos are getting 40 minutes long, and we'll see. Anyways, Cactus Town, so I pushed it off for a while. This is from, not Dimension, no, that's something else. This is from Second Gate. From Second Gate Games, who put out Monsterlands, and also they worked on Besieged together with Kaman. I believe they will have a Besieged 2 at some point in the undefined future, but for right now, they have Cactus Town and Monsterlands as the games they've put out under their brand exclusively. Could be others, but those ones on Kickstarter at least. As far as Cactus Town, what is it? It is an action programming game. Now, for me personally, I was actually very turned off by the art style of this game. I had no interest in it. That's a personal choice. It has nothing to do with the value. It has nothing to do with whether you like it. And I will say we have 1,500 people who certainly were not turned off by it. For me, the art style I just didn't like myself. But that being said, I actually am pretty interested in this game. I will not be backing it because I want to wait and see, but I was very interested in this game because I love action programming as a mechanism. I have always enjoyed action programming. It generally results in either tense strategy or hilarious moments, and sometimes both. So I tend to be a fan of action programming as a mechanism, and action programming is the idea that you sit there and you plan out your turn in advance, and then go through the motions trying to see how much was affected by other players and the ways they got in your way, and the ways you got in your own way, and different things like that. This one does seem to line more up on the side of going for funny and hilarious, as opposed to like the deep strategy that Rurik will give me. Root 2, I guess, if you're playing as the Irie. The Irie. I don't know. In any case, so that's basically Cactus Town. It's an action programming game coming in with a regular pledge level and a deluxe pledge level. So over here we have, and plus an expansion. So for 25 euros, we have the Deputy, the Deputy Pledge, the regular Cactus Town, giving you all the stuff you need to play the game, but in standees and whatnot, without extra player boards, extra dice. For 49 euros, you get the dice, you get the standees, the player boards, all the minis, the minis, again, if you like that style, then I think it's good. For me, I wasn't so into the style. And then we have the expansion, both at €14 or at €20 if you want the deluxeified version. And then they have stretch goals as well, tons of stretch goals in terms of, the miniatures they've unlocked, more cards, more tools, more different everything in the game. Overall, I think this is one that will fall into the category of holding its value, sort of. Now, I need to figure out labels to say these things quicker, but the basic idea is I don't think you will lose a lot of money, but you might lose a little bit of money. Give me 1 second here. Meaning, looking at Monsterlands as a reference point, looking at Monsterlands as the closest reference point they have in terms of how well it did, Monsterlands overall did pretty well. But at the same time, if you look at sales of it, it does range a bit in terms of people who sold it for basically what they paid for it, meaning you're basically losing on shipping at that point. I think Cactus Town is likely to fall into the same basic range. If you look at the number of backers it has and the total pledge level, it's somewhere in the same range as Monsterlands based on where it is in the campaign. We'll see how the last week or so turns out for this game. So if you are interested in this game, I think worst case scenario, you're talking about losing a little bit. Maybe you're losing what you pay in shipping, maybe you lose an extra $5, but it is... Yeah, it looks cool, and if you want the deluxe edition, because of the nature of that two-sided where shipping is lost in the middle, if you want the deluxe edition, this is likely your best price or opportunity to get it, as opposed to waiting in the secondary market or anything like that. So Cactus Town looks like a fun game, overall a good price, and overall will mostly hold its value. From there, we have Gatefall Lost in the North Woods. Gatefall Lost in the North Woods is an expansion to Gatefall, a game that is currently rated like a 9.2 on BoardGameGeek or something like that. It's rated very highly right now. It is effectively a miniature-based skirmish game to a degree, primarily two-player based, although I believe they have modes or perhaps expansions that give you more players. This is an expansion that... So, the original campaign, Gatefall, did very much hold its value. People could sell the game for what they paid plus shipping, getting all their money back, and then some. The expansion is a harder call because something they addressed in the FAQ, but the expansion is basically the same price for one faction that the base game was for two factions. And if you want to get the base game over here as well, it's also more expensive. It's an extra $10 to get the base game now compared to what it was in the original campaign. And that's because of that aspect of trying to get people into a system. They cover in the FAQ, but when you're launching a new product line, sometimes you have to be a bit more aggressive in the pricing because you want people on board. Versus when it's already a 9.2 and it's well liked and people seem to be enjoying this game, well, now you can go to actually trying to make money on this game as opposed to just, paying your bills off. And so that is, and also combined with the fact that the miniatures in this faction or whatnot are larger. So they are larger than the other miniatures, and that all factors into the price. That explains why you're paying more. The problem is, at the end of the day, it doesn't account for, well, will it hold its value or not? The original one sold for basically marginally more than what people backed for it. Meaning, if you backed Gatefall, and if you didn't like Gatefall, you could basically get your what you paid, plus shipping, maybe a few bucks more. This one, because you don't have that discount built in, it's likely you'll see your money back, but that's basically about it, and even then you might find yourself losing a bit on shipping, just because of the fact that it is priced higher. That being said, if you like Gatefall, and you want the expansion, I think this is a no-brainer, and if you don't like Gatefall, then look into the ratings, look into the reviews, see if this is a game for you, because it is well rated, and that definitely counts for something. Which brings us to Cartographers, and this one is going to be the longest segment we have in this video. Cartographers is by Thunderworks Games, and to save you a lot of time if you want to skip to the next timestamp, go ahead and back this at whatever pledge level you want. It's basically a decent pledge. And as far as the going into it, so Cartographers. What is Cartographers? Cartographers is a roll and write game in which you are flipping over these Tetris-y polyomino shapes and drawing them on your map. Do not do what this picture is showing, where they're drawing it with a regular pencil. I almost got rid of this game because I said I love this game and I hate the whole aspect of drawing out all the maps and trying to see what's going on the board. And then I got like 15 comments saying, have you tried colored pencils yet? And I was like, well, no, I haven't. And I feel a bit stupid now. And so I kept this game in the end. I have not yet played it yet because I haven't actually gotten around to getting my colored pencils, but I do very much plan on getting those colored pencils and giving it a shot, because when I said I was getting rid of it, I simultaneously said, and I'm getting the app. I do like this game. It was a what's the word for it? Something, I don't know, there's a good word, but it was not the gameplay that was a problem for me. It was the process involved in the gameplay. So I am very interested in getting this game again with colored pencils. And by the way, one of the pledge levels, which we'll get to here shortly, does have colored pencils for that reason. But it basically, yeah, you're flipping over these polyomino shapes, and then similar to Isle of Skye, you're going to have different scoring cards in play at every given point. So maybe round 1, you're scoring cards A and B, round 2, you're scoring B and C, then C and D, then D and A. You're playing this out over 4 rounds. Along the way, you'll also have monsters getting in your way. And in the Heroes expansion, in Cartographers Heroes, which is a standalone game that can be combined with the original, you now have heroes you can draw that will enable you to kill monsters, which is fun. So you can not only get monsters, but you can kill them, which is a fun upgrade from the original options or lack thereof that you had. In addition to Cartographers heroes, they are also bringing 3 map packs to the table. So there's going to be 3 map packs available as well, and then a few promo packs and different things, including colored pencils, including a playmat. As far as the pledge levels, what we have for the pledge levels, we have $22 for the pledge levels with $3, and I'm going to talk US shipping. Obviously, look at the shipping table for your own individual shipping costs, but $22 for the Hero of Nalos pledge, Hero of Nalos pledge, I don't know what it is. That's basically the Cartographers Heroes Retail Edition, and it's basically going to come in at roughly, once you count shipping, it's $25. Cartographers at retail, if you're buying from Miniature Market or something like that, would cost you around $20, but you would also get the Skills Mini expansion, which historically on BoardGameGeek, the Skills 1 expansion tends to sell for around $5 or so. So you're basically paying roughly the same price if you value those promo packs, which means, especially if you like this game and you know you want the game, go ahead and back it because it's more of the same at a reasonable price point. From there, we have the Explorers of the Plains the pledge level, which gives you all of the first things, but also for an extra $20 more, $2 more in shipping, and $18 more in the actual cost. So an extra $20 more gives you 3 map packs to add to the game. And again, same deal, 3 map packs for $20. You can hem and haw. Maybe you'll be able to get it for $6 here, and maybe only $18. At the end of the day, you're basically paying roughly the same amount, and you'll get the map packs and everything you want. But I do recommend skipping that one entirely. I mean, if you want the first pledge of $22, great. If you want the Explorers of the Plains, you can do it, but I really recommend upgrading, paying an extra $10 for the Legendary Cartographer, which will give you everything from the above, but it'll also give you the Deluxe Edition Collector's Box and 20 colored pencils. And now is a good time to show you the little GIF they have here. Yes, GIF, I'm doing it, where they show you, look at this, it's adorable. Look how everything fits in there, and that includes the base game, it includes everything you see here. It includes, I think it includes the playmat, I'm not actually sure about that, but it basically includes a lot of stuff all fitting into this deluxe box, which is awesome and incredible until the next expansion. But at that point, you'll be halfway through all the maps anyway, so you'll have more space, or you'll figure out something. Maybe even you'll just take out the insert, who knows. But for an extra $10 to get the colored pencils and this box, I think it's totally worth it. This is going to be Kickstarter exclusive, by the way, this box, so meaning or retailers who back the project. So I think this is your best option in terms of if you want something that will hold its value. And then next up from there, for $90, we have the New Recruit All In. By the way, I have a nice table here that shows you all the options. That's going to give you the base game, the Skills Mini expansion, the Ambush expansion, and the playmat. So for an extra $40, you're getting basically 4 things. The base game, which is roughly a $20 value, the playmat, which is, you have to decide what's worth to yourself, maybe $10-15, and then the Skills and Mini expansion, the Skills and Ambush expansion, historically, like I said on BoardGameGeek, that'll cost you about $15. So you're basically getting about a $10 discount compared to what these things would otherwise cost you, all in one bundle for simplicity and ease and brand new and shrink and all that fun stuff. So basically, almost every single expansion level here, almost every single pledge level here, I think is a reasonable back. I don't think any of them are amazing backs. I don't think any of them are blowing you out of the water. I think they're all totally fine, reasonable things to back if you are interested in this game. And at a 7.7 on BoardGameGeek, rated roughly 140, I think it's the 140th highest game. It's doing pretty well for Roll and Write. And that is Cartographers. Next up, we have Fantastic Factories. Fantastic Factories, which is another one that is, and this one's a little harder actually. So Fantastic Factories is the double expansion for Fantastic Factories. It's not significantly harder. It's actually kind of the same, really. Fantastic Factories is a tableau building game that I enjoyed it. I got rid of my own copy, but I did very much enjoy the game. And it is one in which it's reminiscent of Race to the Galaxy to nah, not really. I guess that's more the scoring mechanisms. But basically, you're going to be rolling dice, assigning them to different buildings, and utilizing them. You have a starting set where you can assign dice anywhere in different configurations, and then you'll be playing different cards that will allow you to assign dice in different ways. It is a lot of fun in some of the elements that it does. For whatever reason, it didn't really click 100% with me, but it is rated well. People love this game. People enjoy this game. And this introduces 2 expansions, which ironically enough are 2 things that do resonate with me. And that would be Manufactions. They have Manufactions. Oh, Manufactions. Like manufacture, but with factions. That's cute. I didn't get that. Manufactions, which basically introduces very player powers, essentially factions. That's cute. I totally did not understand that. Subterfuge, the direct player interaction, which gives you this opportunity to mess with people, which depending on how it's done, I would either really like that addition to the game or not like the addition to the game. So that can go either way. But as far as the game, so basically that's what you're adding over here. As far as the pledge level, levels. It's $25 to get the main expansion over here. I think to get this main expansion. It's $40 to get both expansions. $49 to get everything new, which is going to include both expansions, the promo pack, and the playmat. So you're basically paying an extra $9 to get the playmat, and then $79 for basically everything. And that's so they had a nice little visual down here showing you the pledge levels. Basically, short version is Fantastic Factories, despite being well rated, is one that the initial campaign did not really hold its value. The promo pack you're getting is decent, but it's a few extra cards, and people didn't seem to care enough. And so overall, people were basically losing money when they, and not a lot, keep in mind, but they're losing like $5-10 when they sold their copy of the game. I think that's likely true here, which means that I believe that if you like this game already, then go ahead and back this now. You're getting a pretty decent price. You're getting the promo packs. You're basically paying roughly what it'll cost at retail. I know they say there's a 25% discount, but that 25% discount is off MSRP, which means you're already getting that at the store, and plus you're paying $5 shipping here. And the shipping is very reasonable here, to be clear. The shipping's a great price, but nonetheless, it doesn't compare to what it'll cost at retail. The only reason to really back this now would be because of the promo packs you're getting. So if you value those promo packs, if they're worth the extra $5 you're essentially paying now, then I think you should go ahead and get it, which very much means that I think this is a great back. I think it's worth getting for someone who likes Fantastic Factories and wants more, versus someone who's not really sure and is getting into this for the first time. Honestly, I recommend just waiting for retail, check out the secondhand market, any of those things, because overall this campaign, like I said, is decent, but nothing particularly amazing. From there, we have Lost in Jurassica. Lost in Jurassica is a game by, I covered Lost in Straya, who was their last Kickstarter campaign. This is one where, this is who's this from? This is from Sam Milham, Sam Milham, who basically has put out a lot of games in this genre. They are all okay games, not rated particularly amazing, gorgeous art, very accessible. They're a decent game. Where I said for the last one, for Lost in Straya, stands true for Lost in Jurassica as well, which is this will not hold its value. If you back this game, you are not getting your money back. No one is paying what you paid for it plus shipping to get this game from you. But at the same time, it has very low retail availability, and not enough people are backing it, and it's available in the secondhand market plus paying shipping. So this may well be your best opportunity to get it, but it's definitely not holding its value as far as reselling your own copy. So if you want it, go ahead, jump in. But if you expect to sell it when you don't like it, that's just not going to happen. You're not going to get your money back on this one. Next, we have Dungeon Drop. Long video, 35 minutes in, and we still have, 3 to go? Dungeon Drop. Dungeon Drop is the expansion and standalone side game to Dungeon Drop, which is a game that surprisingly held its value. I say surprisingly. Remember how early in the video I said sometimes I'm definitely wrong? Dungeon Drop is a game that I would not have thought would hold its value. I didn't actually do a deep dive into the original campaign. That was before I started doing these videos, but instinctively, at least, without doing that deep dive, I do not think it would have I don't think that I would have said that it would hold its value. But it did. It's one that you were able to get back what you paid plus shipping at the deluxe pledge, not at the regular pledge. At the deluxe pledge, you're able to get your money back on the game. The expansion is likely to end up being the same. It's just more of the same. It's introducing both an expansion. So we have the Dropped to Deep expansion, which introduces a solo cooperative mode, and we have the Legends of Dungeon Drop, which is like this companion game to the game. As far as the gameplay, because I didn't cover that, the gameplay basically involves you start off by dropping a whole bunch of cubes into an area, and then using different abilities, you create these rooms with the gray cubes, and using your various adventurers' abilities, you clear these rooms, taking all the cubes in the various rooms that you're slowly creating. It's an interesting, light, accessible game. It's a great option for introducing the fantasy genre to your younger kids or to gateway games or whatnot. It doesn't have a lot of tactical depth, but it is a light, fun, accessible game, rated a 7.1 on BoardGameGeek. I think it's a fair assessment to, I haven't played this game to be clear, but it's a fair assessment to what the game seems to be, and I would not have thought it would hold its value, but based on the fact that the initial one did, I would assume this one would as well, or at least somewhere in the range. We have this, look at this dungeon mat with the walls. It looks pretty cool. But that's Dungeon Drop. It looks interesting. You're not going to be making money on this. You might lose a few bucks, but probably will hold its value decently. Next up, we have Frostpunk the board game. I did a dedicated video on this one. Frostpunk the board game is at $1.2 million raised, 9,164 backers, 19 days to go, and it only just launched this past week. It is doing phenomenally well for Glass Cannon Unplugged, which is excellent because this is their first campaign, which generally your first campaign on Kickstarter does mean a lot for how well things will go over time. This one is, they're knocking out of the park. This is brought to you by same people who did This War of Mine, I think Lords of Hellas a bit, different aspects, different games, and this one, to condense everything I said in the last video, This will be going to retail, but you are getting the expansion for free, and you're getting the Sundrop Sundrop, which will be Kickstarter exclusive on all the miniatures. I can't say Sundrop, that's not true. That's Awakened Realms. You're getting shading on all the miniatures, and you're getting the expansion for free, and you're getting it earlier. So overall, it does seem like it's a pretty decent pledge. It is one that will very much hold its value in terms of if you want to sell this later, people will back it. This game is good. It may not be a game for me. In fact, it's not a game for me, but this game is clearly good. This game will do well. I have no doubt about saying that at all, and there will be people who want your particular deluxeified version as opposed to getting a retail edition. So if you want to get this game, back it with confidence, it will hold its value. Although there are two options, a meeple pledge and a miniature pledge, and both of them are very appealing in their own unique and different ways. And the meeple pledge is cheaper, which is one of the unique and interesting ways that it's appealing. From there, we have High Rise, the UltraPlastic Edition. High Rise, the UltraPlastic Edition. This is one that I actually talked about on my podcast with Quackalope. I have a podcast, which I'll link to it down below, the Weekly Quack, which we talk about the games we like. And in fact, this week we talked about Frostpunk, we talked about High Rise, and I brought up the Great Wall, which I will not be talking about in this video, but I talked about the Great Wall. In any case, so High Rise. High Rise is a game. This is the second edition of the game. The original edition was basically a non-miniature game. They had these tall building standees. This one is bringing the, miniatures to the table. This is one that, the actual gameplay, by the way, if you want to get a good video of the gameplay, check out this video by Sarah Shaw. Sarah, if you watch this video, I want to know, how many takes do you do? Because Sarah Shaw, to those who don't know, it puts out these 1-minute videos talking about a game, and they are all consistently 57, 58, 59, or 60 seconds. That is the range of what the videos are. Do you know how hard it is to narrowly, precisely go by how tight? I mean, that requires a degree of precision, of practice, of narrowing it down, and then ending off when I think you should check it out. So I am always in awe. Whenever I see a game that I want to know about, I want to know more about, I always check out her videos, Board Games in a Minute. Highly recommend subscribing to her channel, and I'm just curious how many takes it actually takes on average to get each of those videos so finely tuned. But that aside, High Rise is an interesting game. It has elements of like the person who's going last gets to go multiple times, so that could be strategically rewarding. It has elements of corruption in terms of trying to take better moves, but that'll give you corruption, which will hurt your scoring. Lots of things going on in this game. It was overall well rated. It's a 7.6 on BoardGameGeek, and this game is bringing the same game to the table, but along with a miniature pack, either to augment your original game or just get the whole thing in a deluxe package. And there we have the options. We have the $5 High Rise Fix Kit, which basically some fixes to the original game. We have $40 for the UltraPlastic buildings and whatnot, $65 for the original base game, and $95 for everything, including, and that includes some extra tenants and whatnot. $95 for everything, which includes the plastic buildings, the extra tenants, and the original base game. I'm skeptical that this will totally hold its value. This falls very much into the range of Cactus Town. Same idea. This is one where I think you will lose a little bit on. Like if you look at the original High Rise, that was done definitely backwards, lost some money on. This one, it comes with miniatures, so that's nice. It's an extra pro, but I just don't see the $40 for the miniatures you're getting being consistent with what people will pay. I think this is one you'll probably, if you end up selling it, if it's not a game for you, I think you'll take a hit on it, but not a huge hit, maybe $10, $15 or whatnot. So somewhere in that range as far as the game will do. But the plus side is the game is vetted as being a good game, so that helps overall. And lastly, no, that is not lastly, that was lastly. So that is everything. That is all the stuff we have today, and I am Alex Radcliffe from BoardGameCo. I hope you enjoyed this roughly 40-minute long video. I guess at the beginning of this video, I said it would be roughly 35 to 40. See, if I would have said 40 minutes, that would be cool, because then I could say, hey, Sarah Shaw, your videos are a minute. My videos, I say, are going to be 40 minutes, and they are exactly 40 minutes. Probably should have cut this video short. That would be, maybe I'll try to do this next week. Maybe I'll try to predict exactly how long next week's video will be, and aim to hit that number. That should be fun. I feel like that could be a fun thing to do every week. In any case, I'm Alex Radcliffe from BoardGameCo. I hope you enjoyed this video, and until next time, have a good one. I'm not singing, by the way. I'm just hanging out here to see how long you wait around to see if I'm singing, but not this week. It is fun though. I can see why John Vassell does this. John Vassell. I can see why Tom Vassell does this. I can see why he at the end of some of his live streams, he just sits there at the end to see who stuck around and what weird things he's going to do that week. It is surprisingly addictive to kind of mess with people. That means next week I either have to cut it short, because next week I have to be different, right? So next week there has to either be something different behind the scenes, or just completely cut it short like normal. Just to mess around. It is fun. I appreciate the fun of what's happening. In any case, speaking of next week, I will see you next week.